Hello, everybody. This is Kenny Evans and David Berry, and welcome to It's What You Keep. This is a podcast dedicated to helping you learn how to keep more of the money you earn so you can turn your income into lasting wealth. Hello, everybody. We're back, man. Dave, is that you?
Hey, Ken. How you doing?
All right. Hey, everybody. This is Kenny Evans and David Berry. We're back with another episode of It's What You Keep. We are going to continue on our series on credit and debt. And last time we talked about the importance of your credit score and your credit rating to your overall financial life and how a low score or a low rating can have a negative impact on your life in terms of costing you more money in other aspects outside of even your credit cards, such as higher interest rates on loans, car loans and things like that, even mortgages, larger deposits on things like your rent and utilities. So you go to get an electric bill account set up and they look at your credit rating and they will charge you a deposit because they figure your low rating is a risk that you won't pay your bills on time. Same with rent and even your insurance. So like your insurance rates that you pay for your car and for your home, they take into consideration, it is part of their calculation, what your credit rating is. So your credit rating is a very important part of maintaining and building your financial security and your financial health over time. So it's something you can't ignore. You need to pay very close attention to. And last time we gave you 10 high-level ways to address a low score, 10 different ways to get information about your score and then address it if it's low, or make sure if it's a decent score and a good score, how to maintain that. So we promised that we'd come back and focus on the 3 ways we think are the best ways to quickly, and I say quickly kind of tongue in cheek because none of these solutions is overnight. They all take time, but we think these will have the biggest hit for your credit score in the shortest amount of time and were the ones you should pay attention to the most. So we will kick off this series of three ways to win. And Dave, I'll send it over to you for number 1.
Great. Thanks, Ken. So when we look at the things that impact our credit score, the number one item that impacts our credit score is paying our bills on time, developing a positive pay schedule on our bills. And so that accounts for 35% of our credit score. And so, if you pay your bills on time and show a positive payment history, you get a better credit score. Mm-hmm. And so these are some different ways that will help us to, pay these bills on time. These are a few things. So if we create a bill calendar, so a physical calendar to let us know when these particular bills are due, then we can actually review that calendar monthly. And then we know that, I've got to pay these certain bills. We can also set up pay reminders. So there are lots of different apps and calendars and reminders that we can actually set up in our phones or, on our laptops or whatever device we're using to give us a reminder to pay certain bills. You can set up an auto pay, automatic drafts out of your account. You can set the date that they come out. Now, one of the things, and those 3 things are easier said than done. Right. It is way easier to say work than it is to do work. Right. But it's worth it. It's worth it. And I mean, creating a budget is probably the first thing because we want to make sure that we are prioritizing these bills, that get reported to our credit agencies.
Right. That's huge too. Now, I just want to point out that 35% of your score has just to do with paying every bill on time. And so you mean if all else being equal, if my budget is super tight, just paying the minimum due on cards. And I think it's important we point out you got to stop using the cards. You got to stop using cards and start creating the debt. Touched on this a number of times throughout the series here, but that 35%, Dave, that's a huge hit for just, and you're not asking even to drastically reduce the debt at this point. You're just paying the bills on time, huh?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, because just by paying them on time, the very minimum, you increase your score.
Wow.
I mean, you're not bringing it way down like all the other things, like reducing it below, the 30%, which you'll get into a little bit later.
Sure.
Well, that's a little bit better, but not as big of a impact as paying them on time. And you most companies, you have to not be 30 days late for them to report on your credit score. So if you're 30 days or more, then you're probably going to get a negative impact. A few days late, probably not. But good. 30 days or more, you're definitely probably going to get an impact to your credit score.
Great point.
So paying them on time is very, very critical.
Yep.
Now, these things are not, as Ken mentioned earlier, they're not overnight things, and we don't know every situation that's out there. We don't know if everyone's particular, items that they're going through.
Right.
And we just want to make sure that, we're sensitive to, people that are in unique situations. It's very easy for us to say to do this, can be very difficult to do, but it is worth it. You have to make sure that you have a goal, and your goal is to be financially, mature or stable in your future. And you work toward that goal. It's not an overnight thing. It's a habit that you develop over time. And so if you're focused on that goal, that habit, you can achieve success day by day, month by month. But just continue to work toward that particular goal. And so if your goal is to pay every bill on time, you set up these different, payment reminders, calendars, budgets, prioritizing essential bills. You actually set those as goals and you work toward those goals. Don't give up. Don't give up, because it's worth it.
Fantastic point, Dave, and totally agreed. This is something that Dave, you did a great job of driving that home. This is something that's developed. None of this is overnight. You don't get in credit trouble overnight, and you don't get out of it overnight. And creating these goals, the goals that Dave mentioned, these are very solid, achievable. And we talked many episodes ago, we talked about the SMART way to address things. And one of the A in SMART stood for achievable, something that you can actually put down on paper and see a light at the end of the tunnel. And building a budget and building a calendar to say, well, I'm going to pay these on time. Making it a priority is really the way to go. It has to become the priority. This will definitely help you in your overall long-term financial life. Very well put, Dave. Thank you for that.
Yes. All right. So what's next, Ken?
So next, that's kind of like a foundation. We talk about base and building up things, and, like the pyramids, you have to have a great base in order to build something tall. Even with buildings, skyscrapers, the base is so important. Because it will determine how tall and strong you can build the rest of it. So paying your bills on time is definitely the base of improving your credit score or maintaining a good credit score. The next kind of a higher level approach is to get your credit card balances to below 30% of your limit. And what this means is they refer to this as credit utilization. It means how much of your available credit are you using? Now, this one I often look at as a catch-22, because the companies are saying we are more willing to extend credit or make credit cheaper for somebody who doesn't use a lot of credit. And it's kind of like, well, if I didn't need the credit, what's the point? Well, the point is they want to have business with you, but they want to know that you're going to pay them back. So when you have, let's say you've got $5,000 in available credit. And that means, that can extend everywhere from a credit card with X number of dollars limit on it. It even includes, believe it or not, loans that you take out, like with certain companies that extends you credit for like buying furniture or something like that. Those companies, it will extend you, let's say, $1,000 credit, and you buy a $500 stove or something like that. Yet that to them, you've used 50% of the credit made available to you. So the company offered you $1,000 in credit to use at a store to buy an appliance, and you buy a $500 appliance. As you pay that appliance down, your credit utilization goes down. So let's say you pay off $100 on that $500 stove. Well, now that $1,000 limit, you have $600 available. You're only using $400, which means that 50% has dropped to 40%. That percentage looks more attractive to credit lenders, that you're using less and less of your credit. And it is cumulative. So across all of your different credit cards and loans, if you have a total of $20,000 worth of available credit and you're only using $2,500 of it, then to a credit agency or a credit extending company or a bank, a lender, they see that you're only using 25% of the credit available to you. That to them is a good sign that you're not in financial trouble, because most people who are in financial trouble are using up all of the available credit to them, all the credit that's available to them, or most of it. So when you start getting into 70 and 80%, that to them is a danger sign that you are a credit risk. And that's when credit becomes more expensive for you. So getting your credit balances down to below 30%. And if you can get it below 20 and 10%, then it's almost like you're not using credit. And then you have a credit history. You've got credit card, previous lenders who have given you credit available, and then you're not using it all. That is very attractive. So if your credit balances are above 30%, then our recommendation is focus on one credit card account at a time. And a lot of times we recommend looking at your smallest bill and start getting that down. Now, in one hand, you can say, I want to pay this completely off, which is a great goal. We definitely recommend that. However, if you have an opportunity to say, okay, if I can get this one down below 30% and turn some focus to others that may be above that 30% mark, that might not be a bad way to go either. In an effort to get all of your balances below 30%. And then in line with this, don't close those accounts. Don't pay them off and close them, because if you keep an account open, that available credit remains as your top number in your overall credit availability. So any credit you're using goes against that top number, and you can continue to lower how much of your credit you're using.
Wouldn't that require us to pay more than just the minimum?
Well, absolutely. That's a great point. So that's why I was saying that the paying everything on time is your base. You got to start there. This is for when you have taken the time to go through your budget, create the budget we talked about, and then looking for ways to reallocate dollars. If you're at the max on everything, you're spending every dollar that comes in. We're saying find places in your budget where you can cut back so that you can redirect that money towards paying down your credit. And this would be one of those places. So if in your budget, you're paying all your minimum credit accounts and you're, paying all your bills, you're paying your rent on time, you've got groceries in the house and the like. And I know I'm guilty of always using Starbucks as the example, but if there's somewhere where you can cut out something, whether it can be something small, if you have to start small, you start small, but cut something out so that you can use those dollars to pay down your credit balances. So if you're at the max in your budget, yes, this means picking an account. That's why I say start with one account at a time, and pay more than the minimum balance. Because if you pay, you do reduce, generally speaking, you do reduce your balances by paying the minimum, just not nearly as quickly. I have seen where a lot of these credit card accounts will only charge you 1%. The minimum payment equals 1% of what you owe. So for example, if you owe $1,500, the minimum payment would be $15. It will take you years to pay that off because it doesn't just come off the top number. They're going to charge you interest on that $1,500. So that $15 really looks like about $3 towards the overall balance. That's why you have to pay more than the minimum due if you want to reduce those balances with any kind of speed. Go ahead, Dave. Did you have a question?
Could your interest rate change such that the minimum amount may not even cut into the debt that you have?
Yes, that's an excellent question, Dave. And that is one of the more, I can't think, it's a negative word, but let's call it sneaky. That's one of the sneakier ways that credit card companies, and I believe there were laws passed against that kind of predatory credit interest charging methodology that was passed back in the 08 to 012 era. I'm not sure how well it's being enforced, but yes, there are situations where, for example, let's say you have a credit card that offered you a deal where you could transfer a balance for 0%. Right. So you could transfer a balance from another card to this card, and then you use that same card to buy something. The interest that they charge on what you bought, that adds on to your balance. And depending on how the credit card is set up and where they allocate your dollars, and this is all available to you in terms of information in the fine print, which of course very few people read, but it will tell you when you pay, this is how we're going to allocate your payment. And if they are allocating the payment towards let's say the 0% finance balance transfer and not towards the balance that's accumulating interest, the reality is that balance is actually growing. So you're paying the minimum amount due and your balance is going up because with the added interest, your minimum payment doesn't cover the interest that they're charging you. And I've had that happen to me. I had to call a company on it because I had a credit card that was going up and I was paying every month and I wasn't using it. And I'm like, how is this going up? And when I called them, the person on the line, the representative actually sounded embarrassed because he had to admit, yeah, we're charging more interest than your minimum payment is covering.
Oh, so you weren't even making a dent in anything.
I wasn't the actual base balance I wasn't touching. I was paying less than I was not even covering the interest they were charging me by paying the minimum because the minimum payment wasn't based on the interest. It was based on the balance.
Right.
And the interest was accumulating and that balance was going up, but it didn't matter because I was only paying 1% of the balance and the 1% wasn't covering the 1.5% interest per month that they were charging me, which is what you'll pay on an 18% credit card, right? You'll pay and just rough numbers, you'll pay 1.5% interest every month. If your payment's only 1% of your balance and your interest is 1.5% of your balance, you are paying less than the interest they're charging you.
Right. Can you imagine if you didn't look into that or you weren't paying attention to that, you'd still be paying on that credit card.
I would still be paying if I had just been paying the minimum, and it would be bigger than it was, 10 years ago. Like I don't even know where this card is. I don't even know what it looks like, and the balance is bigger than. Yeah, it is sticky. And there are a number of things that work out that way. If you have student loans, and I'll just make a small segue here. If you have student loans and they offer you a deferment or was that what they used to call them, Dave? A deferment where you could stop paying on the loan. But what is interesting about that is the loan continues to accumulate interest
Yeah, that's right.
while you're not paying on it. So yes, they've suspended the payments, but the balance is going to grow because they're still charging interest every month. You're not being dinged on your credit report because it shows it's in deferment, but the balance is growing. So when you do start paying on it, it's going to be a bigger number than when you stopped paying on it.
That's right. Especially if it's over several years that you've deferred it.
Yes. And so interest is a beast if you're paying interest is bad. When you're earning interest is great. And some of the richest
Right,
people
they're
in the
on the
way
other side of it,
say
right.
that poor people pay interest, rich people earn interest. And so you want to pay as little interest as possible. So yeah, getting those balances down below 30% will help your credit rating go up, and that will make other aspects of your life less expensive.
Oh, good, good.
So what about a third way, Dave? How can we address this?
Okay, so and we touched upon this just a few, paying attention to the score, which means that you have to get a copy of your score and look for mistakes, because their mistakes can be made all the time. Some, industries do this automatically, and then they just, it'll pop up on your credit report, negative items. So get a copy of your credit reports to examine where you are right now. And so there are lots of different ways to do that. You can actually call up a credit reporting agency and get a copy of it. I think it's once a year you can get a copy of it. There are 3 agencies, so you can get, 3 free credit reports a year, so you can see exactly where you are. I have a paid service where I automatically get a copy of, where I can go online and get a copy of my credit report, but that you have to pay for that.
Yeah.
So get a copy of your credit report and look for mistakes, accounts that you don't recognize. If you don't recognize these accounts, they could be fraudulent, or they could just be a mistake. Match payment balances with your payment history. And so go through the credit report and look for everything that you recognize and the things that you don't recognize. And then contact the reporting agency. And you can set up a dispute. You can do that online. And then, a part of the process of setting up this dispute, what they'll do is they will actually remove that from your credit report until the dispute is settled. And
That's
so
great.
make sure that everything that is on that report belongs to you.
That's
and one of the things that you can do, because setting a positive payment history, as we mentioned in the first point, you can actually put things on your credit report. Like you can start reporting your utilities, have that put on your credit report to actually show a great payment history.
Great
and
point.
So get a copy of it, find out where you are, and look for mistakes.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that I like that approach, and this is where building a budget that makes this easier, because I think it can be intimidating to say, "Oh, I got to look at every credit card." Yeah, you do. This is your financial life you're talking about. So if you've built a budget, you already know where your money's going. Right? You've built a budget. You know, this is my outgo. That's all a budget is where am I spending my money every month? So when you get this credit report that Dave's talking about, you already know what should be on there. And just take a pen, and you see something that's on there that should be, black it out, cross it out. It's like, okay, that's right. Anything that's left, if there's, that's not yours. Or if it is, you need to find out where it's coming from. To Dave's point, you've got to be in control. This is what we talk about when we say mind your business. This is your business. You need to mind your financial health. And yeah, it is worth it. It is worth it, because the alternative for mistakes, especially things that aren't even your fault, costing you money on a monthly basis, that's insane. We don't want to do that. We want to
And if you don't identify these things, and then they're negatively impacting you,
Right.
and like if you've got some sort of negative, hit on your credit report that you don't recognize and didn't even know it was there, and all of a sudden you go to pay your rent an apartment, and they're like, "Oh, I need this amount of money. Oh, you need a bigger down payment. First, last,
Right.
third, fourth, and fifth one."
Co-signer, the firstborn.
And you're like,
It's like,
wow, what happened?
well,
What's
yeah,
going on?
I've been great. I've been paying all my bills on time.
Right.
And then hey, be on top of that. I think that's
Right.
fantastic advice. Well, Dave, I think those are three great ways to start. And I think if you get those under control, the rest falls into play.
That's a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
you hit, 35%, which is the big one. And then, the mistakes and the credit card balances, that's, are probably over 50%.
I think you're well over 50% in terms of the weight it provides. Other things are what we mentioned before: credit history, having positive credit history, having a credit history at all, which of course, if you're brand new to credit, that's just something that takes time. But certainly if you've got a credit history, you've got a credit score, these are steps you can do to either improve your score or maintain your good score. You don't want to lose all the hard work you've put into getting a good credit rating. You don't want to lose that due to a mistake or an error.
That's right.
or some kind of fraud out there. So pay attention.
That's right. And the score comes down a lot easier than it does, than it goes up.
That is for sure. So don't waste that work. All right. I think we covered it, man.
Very good.
We're right at time here. So thanks everybody once again for listening. We hope this has been helpful. We're going to continue this series on credit and debt in a couple more episodes, just so we touch on some of the pitfalls we want you to avoid. All right. In the meantime, please feel free to visit our website at www.keepitpodcast.com. That's www.keepitpodcast, all one word.com, where you can find resources and other ways to look at improving your overall financial health. Outside of that, Dave, I think we can cut these fine folks loose, and we'll see them next time.
I can. Very good.
All right, everyone. Take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening. Please be sure to visit our website at www.keepitpodcast.com. That's www.keepitpodcast, all one word.com. There you'll find links to websites and blogs related to building wealth and other useful information. You can also leave comments about our show and listen to or download all our shows after they air. Also, as a reminder, this show is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be used as financial advice, as we do not know your specific circumstances and are not your fiduciaries. Please consult with your personal financial advisor before making any investments or financial decisions. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. In the meantime, remember, it's not what you make, it's what you keep.